So this is the spoilers discussion for Tenet, and we just did our regular review and with no spoilers. And this movie is a very complex, complicated movie. I can't flippin' talk right now. It's like I'm inverted. But there's a lot to go over. But why don't we just jump into some stuff here?
I made a few bullet points for the spoiler section, and the first one that I have was one of the biggest things walking out of that I was definitely most confused about and kind of disappointed about, which I should have mentioned this in one of my negatives, was the very beginning of this film, probably the first 10 to 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes. There's a whole scene where it just starts out with like it just throws you right into the action, and basically there's like this opera house where there's about to be like a concert. Then all of a sudden, like, the doors close, and there's just so many different soldiers in, like, suits that kind of, like, raid this, like, area, and they start to, like, gas the place up. But then this other group from outside, I couldn't tell if they were working with them. And then when it's just going on, there's a main guy in, like, one of the private booths, and they're trying to get him out of there, and there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then after that, he gets taken, and I wanted to know, like, who was this guy they're trying to, like, protect, and, like, what was the storyline, who's fighting against who. Then all of a sudden he gets taken, and then all of a sudden he's like getting his teeth ripped out on a railroad, and then he takes this silver pill, which is another whole point that I want to talk about later on. Yeah, and he helped him take it, and then he wakes up, and it's basically the film that you saw in the trailers, and that beginning storyline never gets brought back up again ever, and you don't even really know how that tied into what was going on in the film or what the point was of that, or was it like in his wife because he died, or did he die? I don't really know if he died or not. Yeah, he was in the
afterlife.
So I really am so confused about what happened there, and I never really was answered. It was not answered about what happened in the beginning.
Well, I agree with that about the pill, the beginning part with him eating that pill and then suddenly waking up, and how at the end they don't, which we'll go back to. Just to smallly mention it, the main character or the main bad guy says if he eats this pill, the whole world ends. Which I don't understand how when he eats that pill. Whether him dying... because it was only him dying in that way, because he gets killed by getting shot. So it was only that pill. How did that pill keep the world from ending?
That was actually... It wasn't just the pill, it was him dying, because that's why when she killed him too early, which put them in a really tough spot, because they had to get that thing out of there.
Oh, and that's why the explosion happened.
But even then, that's actually... I'll just bring that up right now, because that was my biggest spoiler right there, was the very end. Because I understand they were trying to stop some kind of... I'm pretty sure what my guess is of what happened at the end was that like plutonium thing that they had. Yeah. I think if that was in the bomb, it would have blew up the entire world. But because they got that out of there, it only blew up that area. I think it was my thinking process, because I still don't really understand. Because like finally at the end when because the goal was because the main girl Kat. The really 7-foot girl was trying to she wasn't supposed to kill the guy until the one guy in the boat shot a flare. Signaling that they got the stuff out of the bomb and it was okay to kill him, because then their plan originally was to kill him and he would realize that he would die alone, no one else would die along with him. Yeah. But she basically just pulled the trigger too. She just took him out. And we're kind of going all over the place, but that when she kills him, he freaking. That was a really brutal death scene.
Oh yeah, did he break his neck?
His neck is really, as he was falling, his neck was loose. I don't know how they shot that scene, because I mean, not only was he
disturbing.
Yeah, seriously, that was really...
I mean, he's a bad guy, but it was just disgusting.
Yeah, he definitely deserved to die, but still...
I thought he was just going to go peacefully into the water, and then he freaking...
I thought she was just going to drown him, but he freaking hits that in his neck. His neck was literally broke. I
didn't know if you actually noticed that or not.
No, I noticed. That's why I was like, jeez. And then she did a freaking swan dive into the...
I know.
And then I guess...
She saw herself.
That was cool. But was that really her in the... I guess that was her. In real time, so that's what's crazy, is that she actually saw herself, but she didn't realize that was her diving off of there.
Yeah, and that's the thing I have to mention. The whole seeing yourself thing, I had no idea this was in this movie. I didn't know I didn't know they were going to do the seeing your future past self at all. So when that happened, my mind was just blown, because I was already confused. And then they're in that particular room with the glass, and the protagonist sees himself across the room, or sees the bad guy sees himself across the room. And that really threw me off. But it ended up being really cool, because you see them connect back, like when the protagonist and Neil are in that one building, and he fights off the guy in that black, SWAT
suit.
SWAT team suit. And he's fighting him there, then he gets kind of sucked out of the building. When that connected back, that was so cool. And I kind of...
Yeah, the whole chase scene, just seeing that, that was definitely... And that was another really just confusing scene when they had... Kat kind of to a chair, and she was I get as soon as they sat down, I saw the bullet hole with the blood on it. I thought she got shot, but. Yeah. They went back and forth so many times there, and they were having different people walk in one side. He was basically having a conversation. He's like, if you're telling the truth, I'm going to kill her back at that time. If you're lying, then I'm going to kill her. When even though he still was going to kill her even after he gave him the thing back. And that whole scene was just kind of cool to see it just get tied back in. It was just still so much going on at once. And I'm not even sure how, when they're driving that fast, that they're able to go into different cars like that easily. I think that's kind of a little far-fetched. I mean, they're going so fast. And that whole sequence, just when it was happening, I just don't know who was for who, because there's like a fire truck, semi-trucks, and they were trying to box in these like SWAT team guys. And if those SWAT team guys were actually not even part of it, why were they not getting suspicious? There was that many like huge trucks right between like all of them, and then all of a sudden they like are getting like crunched in there. Like, did they not see that? Because you see like when they were doing that, like some signal got broke. I don't know what facility that was in.
Yeah, were they just like but then some guys like randomly turning off TVs?
Well, did you see like the one guy in the front when there's all these things like joining the highway, he smiled to the guy driving, and he knew what was going on, and we're just like, that's when we laugh, we're like, what is going on right now? Like, we don't know who's working with who. The only people that we really know are Neil, the protagonist, Kat, and then there was one other guy that they worked with a little bit, Mahir. He was kind of a cool character. He helped like blow up. He was the one that tricked the one guy.
Meal?
He said, "Yeah, are there any veggie meals?" And the guy walked all the way and like looked like an inch away from the food, like freaking like see what the food was.
He asked, "Do you think this is a veggie meal?" He meant.
I mean, that was kind of ridiculous, but...
No, I wanted to mention the tall bad guy's like assistant guy. Yeah, Andrew Howard had a freaking boss scene where he opens a door and looks in suspicious, like...
No.
Remember he's like,
he said... Are you sure? Because the protagonist said, the main character was like, "Are you sure he wants to see? Are you sure that he wants to see me without my pants on?" And he just like actually like let him. He actually bought that and shut the door. I guess they saved him from drowning because he knew if he died, then the whole world would blow up. But I don't even know if they knew that at that point of the movie. Because if he would have died there, would the whole world have blown up?
I don't know, because if he dies, does like something in his heart send out something, or is like
it was a trigger. It was like a trigger event that was like no matter how he died, he was going to get he was gonna. Remember how the one person said like if he dies, then he doesn't. It's just like how he was with his wife, or I guess his girlfriend, or whoever I guess it was his wife at one point. Like he was definitely very jealous. Like if anyone else was with her, he would just lose it, and then if he died, he didn't think anyone else should be allowed to live. That was kind of his like mindset and view on the world. He kind of said, I think he viewed himself as a god at some points, and at the end of that film, he was basically saying that out loud.
Over the whole world.
Yeah,
I mean, but that is the thing about the girl character. I guess the reason she was with him is so he would stay alive. Because I kept wondering, why is she still with this guy? Because he is just so. He said he had some like picture to hold over, but I kept saying the whole time I was so mad because this guy is such a jerk and is like hitting her and kicking her all the time. I was like, why the f is she still with this guy? So I kept wondering.
I don't know how that painting actually had a hold over her. What was that whole storyline? Like that was their whole point of having this plane light this facility at an airport on fire just to get this painting, and then they didn't even get it, and like they thought it blew up in the process, which it didn't. But like my whole point was like, what was the point of this like painting? Why did this have such a hold on her life? Like it's a painting.
Think, were they gonna? There's so much happening.
I don't really know what happened there, but that actually brings up
her or something.
Maybe that seems like a very. I don't really know. That's us guessing. We don't really know exactly, but that was actually like one of the best tense scenes was when they were going into this facility, and this one guy who he really had no idea what was going on. He was like acting as like a tour guy, and like literally the whole time like they were just using it to like get this information.
Yeah.
And that's why when he's like, you said 10 seconds, right? And he like bolts out of there.
Yeah. He was so confident about their plan that he freaking jumps.
There's two things that don't really make sense. One thing that was great about that scene was the fact that like they were holding their breath when they were in that area because like basically they wouldn't have water or else it would destroy the painting. So they had this like substance that was going to take away the oxygen in the building or in this area of this room, and they had to hold their breath, and they were going in and they had to like basically get the locks loose and then type in a code, which was a great thing. Like doors. The third one was breaking, and Robert Pattinson's character was like looking around and trying to find an extra way out of that. And finally, he saw like a garage like opening up, and he was gonna go there, but then the door opened. I mean, he just like and he was here's what I mean. He says he lunged forward, and they breathed immediately. Wouldn't the oxygen get sucked out of that room too as soon as the door opens?
Well, not that fast, right?
Because, like, I mean, the air from there would have gone into there immediately.
Well, no, because they said they had 10 seconds for it to suck out or something, right? It had 10 seconds for it to initiate.
It was already sucking out. Like, it was already sucked out. That's why they couldn't breathe.
Well, yeah, in that room.
But, yeah, but like once the door opened and they lunged like an inch forward, does that much room? Won't the air get sucked away from there as well?
Well, eventually, but they shut the door, I would think.
Are you sure they shut it behind them?
It would take 10 seconds for it. I'm guessing.
I guess it wasn't like a toxic gas or anything, but still. I
don't know why the one room was fine.
But that was just kind of a funny scene. Then all of a sudden, like I think Kenny called it when he said he was gonna fight himself, and like that was you kind of saw that get tied in there. Yeah. It was a really cool scene. Then the other tense scene that I mentioned in these non-spoiler review was any scene between Kat and the bad guy, which is like the main villain and her. Obviously, they had a relationship together. It's like they had a son. Who you don't really see much of it. That's kind of the whole reason she wants to get her son and have like custody of him. But there's some scenes where it's like, it's definitely very like abusive relationship, and you like, I honestly thought he was gonna. I knew like the way that we are right now that he was gonna go out in a very very bad way, and it honestly was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it was still bad breaking his neck, but there's some very tense scenes where like he was holding a belt that I thought was a really bad scene there, and then also the scene where she was holding a gun to his face, and then he takes the gun and like kicks her. I thought he was gonna kill her there and step on her head there.
I was that whole thing. I was waiting for some kind of payoff because it was just like, first of all, I was like, why is she still with him?
Yeah.
And second of all, he was just really bothering me. I mean, the whole movie, it was like, goodness. And I didn't really know he was the main character until we got to. I was like, okay, this is the main guy.
Well, but you really can't be blamed for that because the beginning of this film, I forgot to mention this. When you're getting thrown into, you're getting a lot of characters are being thrown at you right out of the gate. Like the first time you see her, I'm like, here comes another character. I didn't really know she's gonna be that big of a character.
And how tall is she? Is she really 6'11"?
I'll have to search stuff. But she was wearing heels a few times, but still, she was very tall.
Yeah, she was really tall.
This guy must not be that tall because that huge tall guy, like she was staring down at him, he was staring down at him, and there's a scene like there's just a lot of things with like relationships, like 'cause I didn't know who was gonna like. Honestly, I thought these two were gonna fight each other at some point because the
John and Neil.
I'm pointing at things you can't see, but like basically the protagonist character. Sits down at a dinner scene where the main villain says he's gonna basically like rip you-know-what off and like put it down his throat and then like choke him to death like that. But then, like literally like a day, like not even probably like 12 hours later, they're on like a skiing trip with each other, and then he saves him, and then they have a drink together because he just saved his life. But then 10 seconds later, like he has him like held down, he's gonna kill him, but then he lets him go again, and then obviously they're trying to kill each other again. It's just like
exactly. There's a lot of things in this movie where, first of all, this is kind of where this is what I mentioned in non-spoilers. I really need to get to. There's a lot of scenes where people are doing stuff, and I have no idea why they're doing it. Then the scene ends. I don't know. Like I heard them say, "We did it," and I was like, "What did you do? Tell me." I don't know what happened. Yeah, he's like, "Why were they skiing?" No idea. And then John David, or that's his name.
Harris.
The protagonist, the main character, gets like. He's spying on the main bad guy in the ship. They catch him, bring him out, punch him, but then suddenly it's like, no, you're doing this for me. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you just caught him. Like, why are you suddenly working together again? Like,
who did he kill with a block of gold? Some random guy?
I have no idea.
That was never explained.
I know, he randomly gets gold from someone.
Yeah, and there was some watch that he kept like touching. I didn't know what that was.
Oh, because the gold he was able to
remember the gold. No, remember he kept doing this with like some watch he had on?
Yeah.
That was just, he kept doing that. There was something about that there was a reason why he was in it. It was not because of his fitness. Someone said it was because he's really high on his fitness, but that had to do something with like him going back in time or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
What's going on.
That's my main problem with, especially not explaining the pill thing, but how, especially the inverting thing is how, like the girl at the beginning mentions that they were catching the bullet, right? And then I really needed to explain. Maybe someone can explain this. Is it the specific objects they can invert? Because I remember they were talking about that. But then, I guess the objects you can invert yourself, like you can pick up the bullet, and that's why they were worried about them inverting like a nuclear weapon. But then you see cars and trucks inverting, and everything's inverting. So, I just
it was just confusing. It's like the bullet's going back into the gun. My thing is like, how is it perfectly doing that every single time? Like, is it because it already happened and it has to happen? Because like that scene when he's fighting, like it was going perfectly to there. Because I figured like. What happens if you pull like an inch, like a centimeter away to the left? Like, does that change what happened, or?
It's gotta only happen if you're perfectly lined up.
Because that doesn't really make any sense. How like I guess anyone can do that if you think this way.
Well, another thing is,
or do you have to be a certain kind of like plutonium? They kept mentioning plutonium. I guess that was what the stuff was in the bomb. Maybe that was gonna blow everything up. Because I think that was I was really confused like what they were doing at the end. But I'm figuring because like there's a scene where like the main tall 7-foot bad guy, assistant to the main bad guy, was trying to like take something off of the bomb. I guess that was gonna launch it down. But like even then, remember the guy laying on the ground, the Aaron Taylor Johnson guy from Godzilla 2014? Yeah. He got like shot, but then like what was going on there? Like how did he get through the fence? How did the protagonist get through the fence to get into there?
Didn't it get unlocked itself?
There was just so much going on because like literally the main bad guy was on the phone talking to him, and I thought they were going to the past, but I guess they weren't in the past. And that final scene, that's one thing I had to mention, it was an awesome scene. It was like bombs like reversing, and then like they were like maybe it's because like I think
the building rebuilt it.
I'm pretty sure one time the one Ives character said that like we have an advantage because we already know the events of what's going on. Because like there was times where they said wait for the things to form again, then shoot it again, just to like reverse like the plan when they okay this is the last thing I'll say about this, but like the final act, but like the final like plan when they were saying what they were gonna do. Like I was paying attention, but then like he was circling one thing and going under, then circling another thing going like over, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what the plan is.
It's a good thing we weren't in the plan.
And then when he said, okay, you guys all ready? And he's like, okay, let's go. I was like, I don't know what that plan about to do here, but
it's Patrick, good plan.
Yeah, no, I figured they were gonna do something, and then like
no, but the one thing I was interested in is in specific what's her name, that tall girl, Kat, is when she gets shot by the inverted bullet. There was words they said earlier in the movie like to get hit by an inverted bullet is really bad, and I was kind of interested in that though because you saw how much worse it was. I would be interested to see why the inverted bullet is worse.
Yeah.
They didn't really explain that. Like, why would that be worse? Because
how they save her?
Think about a bullet going that way versus that way. Yeah. I was interested to hear why that's worse because you think about it, the bullet goes forward and back. I could have used a lot more explaining on that because I found that interesting.
How did they actually save her though? Remember what was the point of pushing her on a gurney into the... Was that to get her onto an ambulance, I guess?
I thought they mentioned some machine. She can only survive on some machine, maybe, and it would take hours.
I
don't know if she healed faster in the inverted realm. That's the thing. Is it different dimensions? And they are the same one.
There was some cool things about the inverted time. Because that was one thing I mentioned, too, that didn't make too much sense, was... Like, he was walking forward, but things were happening reverse. Like, birds were flying back, cars were going backwards, and then, like, in the inverted zone, when, like, you're going back in time, like, heat turns to ice, and then ice turns to heat, and there's a scene where, like, the main villain, which I feel... Don't you think he would realize a fire wasn't going to kill him, it was going to turn to ice, and, like, I'm not sure how he got out of the situation where, like, his car turned to ice, and then all of a sudden he's, like, laying on a... thing you usually wear when like you're super cold. And he said like Neil said he had hypothermia. I don't know how they found him or how they got him back, but I don't know. That's what I was confused about.
The main thing is that I really could have. This probably could have made it a 10 or even higher than what I gave it. Is that
more explanation?
In particular, more explanation. But even the main thing is like for Doctor Strange when the mirror dimensions and introduced, like you see, it's a lot more easier to understand, at least in my opinion, because you see like the Ancient One. You see her actually turn into that dimension. But in this one, it's like, do you have to go into that specific turning machine to enter the next one?
Difference.
Yeah, it's really hard. Which I know it's the same world, like it's the same Earth, but at the same but it's not because you see yourself.
Literally, well, yeah, that you know, because that whole sort of like when you like I thought they said don't see your past self, but then it doesn't really matter because they were literally fighting each other and it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And also like the confusion part about like not seeing the difference between like who's in the past and who's not. Obviously, like. In that final scene, this is happening throughout the film as well, but especially in that final battle scene, there's soldiers literally going backwards while some are going forwards. I'm like, can the ones going backwards not see the ones going forwards?
I think they can.
They can't, because like, why would they keep going backwards? It's like, what does that look like when you're going backwards and they're going forwards?
Well, no, they have to be because even when he's fighting his previous self, he's like flipping weird directions and stuff.
There was
like you're still like you're moving backwards, but you're still trying to interact with the other person going the opposite way. It's
I think one thing that was kind of cool was that you saw a couple guys get kind of like killed in the process of getting. There was one guy who got sucked into a building, which honestly didn't happen more. It happened way less than I thought it would. But one really cool scene about them taking advantage of them being like going in the past was there was a sniper in this one building, and you saw him was firing like he shot a missile at somewhere, but then the missile reverses and goes back to him, and then the ones going back in the past wait for it to go back, and then they take him out before he even shoots, which is kind of a cool thing there. But again, there was just so much going on. The thing I need to mention about that final scene was like they were all wearing masks, and I could not tell who was who. The only reason I could tell the protagonist was him was because it was like zoomed in on his face, and I think his mask might have came off. But the Neil character, there's characters like running. There was a girl character that was kind of like you could hear voices, but it was just impossible to tell who was who. I mean, I figured the ones that we were following were the ones that were like on the good side, but there was not like who were they fighting? I guess the bad guys like kind of henchmen.
Yeah, I think it was like it was in Iran, right? So it was like some terrorist organization around there. But I think the main thing that helped at least is that for the most part, I thought, okay, anyone who has that breathing mask is inverted because you can't breathe when you're inverted because the lungs, like the air is backwards. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
But I understood that a little bit because as far as that helped me to think who's inverted and who's not as far as the mask. But at the same time, there were people that were just in the SWAT team suits that it didn't on both sides.
But trying to explain this is probably the most confusing video to watch because unless you see it, it might make a little more sense. Or it's making a lot more sense.
Yeah, maybe my statistics class will be easy now after watching this full movie.
And then one final thing about the tension in this film was about the villain and like his wife/ex-wife. I mean, he did a great job being this psychopath, like jerk, really powerful guy. You could just tell he just held a lot of power over a lot of people. Even though he was a major jerk and he was super annoying.
Yeah.
But there's this scene where like he was like an inch away from the camera looking at his ex-wife, and I'm pretty sure you were covering an ear. I think that this
scene, I thought he was about to get shot.
Well, I thought that or he's gonna like just yell or start whipping the girl because it kept cutting away from like him to like the girls, and you couldn't see him like something's about to happen here. Like even when he left the room, I thought like he was gonna come back in immediately.
Yeah.
Then he goes upstairs and then like he looks over like with binoculars and he yelled pretty like he's obviously a psychopath. He's not as insane as the villain in the Harley Quinn movie, but he didn't have any scenes where he was saying like F and like hitting things, but he was definitely insane and he did a great job, great role. I mean, honestly, like we said, the cast was great across the board. Not one bad actor, and not honestly, this is the first film in a long time where there was not one annoying character in a bad way. Like obviously he was annoying, but in a good way because you need a villain to like in a film.
It's supposed to be making you annoying.
Like this is the first one where none of the good characters were annoying because usually in films that we watch, a lot of the ones that we're supposed to like, we do not like in a film that you already know about.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is our theater was so flipping loud that there were certain times when it got quiet, I was like, oh my god, I guess this theater is just ridiculous. It was like actually hurting my ears. It was that loud. And the chair was like vibrating and like everything was... It's in the Big D theater, which I'm guessing is like IMAX. So
it's basically an IMAX. Yeah.
Maybe I've never been in IMAX, but I guess that's like...
The sound is unreal. So anyways, though, that was our spoilers discussion of Tenet. Pretty sure we covered basically everything. I mean, there's a lot of confusing parts about it, but once again, it's a great film. And we gave it really high scores. I mean, anything over an 8, in my opinion, is a really great score, even though our scoring systems are a little bit different.
An A.
Because to me, 5 is average. Anything below 5 is below average. Anything above 5 is above average. I would say anything above an 8 and above, is a film that we would recommend you to go see 100%.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I guess my final thoughts on it, at least, I definitely recommend this movie. It's definitely confusing. I have a lot of questions, but I have to give this movie a lot of credit for not being politically motivated.
Yeah.
That is not.
especially in today's age.
I can't stress that more now when it seems like you can't escape politics anywhere. You can go see this movie, have a lot of fun, have a lot of fun.
No,
call me dad. No.
Well, they're good kids. We have a lot of fun. Yeah. They call me dad.
What the fuck? No, but it really is. It's a great movie you can have fun at, and you can enjoy it and have fun at the movies. And it's a unique story. It is confusing, but it's definitely a great action movie, great special effects.
Yeah.
I'd give it an A, 9 out of 10 in my opinion.
I would definitely recommend it. Obviously, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10, but also, like you just said, for this film to come out in this time of 2020 with all that's going on and what's going on with just different situations, for this film to do what it did and just be a really epic film, awesome stuff, and just a great little escape from what's going on right now and just everywhere. And it just honestly was a great film just to go and watch and just escape reality for a little bit, which is what movies are supposed to be. And I definitely recommend you to go check it out. Support films like these and get your butts into theaters and watch this film in theaters.
Don't be afraid to go see it like some flipping, I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Some flipping soft flipping director.
This character, the film that this character, or the film that this director, this film that this character was in, the director of this film. Go check out. I want you to check out this film in theaters. So go check it out. So thanks for watching this spoilers discussion of Tenet, and stay tuned for lots more videos to come. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.